The windswept slopes of Burnswark Hill in southern Scotland look quiet today, but beneath this seemingly peaceful rise lies one of the most violent stories of Rome's occupation of Britain. Recent excavations, including a 2022 survey by the University of Edinburgh and Historic Environment Scotland, have revealed even more Iron Age settlements and evidence that the land beyond Hadrian's Wall was not empty wilderness, but the home of organised, defiant tribes. And at Burnswark itself, archaeologists have unearthed thousands of Roman projectiles, lead sling bullets, stone catapult shot and iron arrowheads, the densest concentration of Roman missile fire ever found in the British Isles. But who unleashed this storm of missiles and why? Was it practice for war or the graveyard of a Roman legion? For decades, Burnswark was dismissed as a training ground, a place where Roman recruits practiced storming a fort. But the evidence tells a different story, one of massed firepower, siege tactics and desperate resistance. And when we connect this with the mystery of Rome's lost Ninth Legion, another possibility emerges. That Burnswark was not a drill, but the last stand of 5,000 Roman soldiers and their auxiliaries, swallowed by history north of Hadrian's Wall. The 9th Hispano Legion was no ordinary unit of Rome's war machine. Raised in Spain during the late Republic, it marched with Julius Caesar during his conquest of Gaul, fighting in some of the bloodiest battles of the 1st century BC. Caesar himself praised their courage, calling them among his most steadfast troops. When civil war broke out, the 9th fought at Caesar's side against Pompey and later against his enemies in Spain. Though disbanded and reconstituted more than once, its reputation for ferocity endured. By the early empire, the 9th was stationed along the Rhine, where it faced the Germanic tribes. In those dark forests, they honed the discipline that became their trademark, holding firm even against ambushes and overwhelming odds. In AD 43, when Emperor Claudius ordered the invasion of Britain, the 9th was among the chosen legions. They fought in the thick of the campaign, helping secure Rome's foothold on the island. During the rebellion of Queen Boudicca in AD 60, the 9th was ambushed near Colchester and nearly annihilated, yet even in defeat they fought savagely. Rebuilt after that disaster, they returned to enforce Rome's rule in Britain. Stationed at York, they became the guardians of the northern frontier. By AD 108, the 9th had already spent 60 years fighting on British soil, carving out a reputation as fierce warriors and enduring survivors. And then, silence. No records, no deployments, no victories. A legion that had once marched with Caesar simply vanishes from history. And this is where the mystery deepens. A mystery that archaeologists and historians are still debating today. Could Burnswark Hill be the battlefield that swallowed the 9th whole? We're about to dig into the evidence that might finally answer that question. Before we continue, if you love uncovering the hidden stories of ancient history, make sure to like this video, share it with a fellow history fan, and subscribe so you don't miss future deep dives into the mysteries of the past. And let us know in the comments, what do you think happened to the 9th Legion? The Selgovae were a Celtic-speaking Iron Age tribe who lived in what is now Dumfries and Galloway. Their world was one of roundhouses and farmsteads scattered across the hills, connected by kinship and defended by hill forts. Far from being disorganized, the 2022 survey revealed over 134 new Iron Age settlements in their territory, showing a network of communities and a structured way of life. They farmed the land, raised cattle, and gathered in strongholds like Burnswark to protect their people in times of danger. Roman geographer Ptolemy listed 4 towns of the Selgovae, including Tremontium, later the site of a Roman fort. But these towns were not Roman-style cities. They were tribal centers of power, defended and defiant. The Selgovae lived in the shadow of Rome's frontier, sometimes trading, often raiding, and always resisting foreign domination. To the Romans, they were a hostile tribe. To their neighbours, they were a leading people of the borders, proud defenders of their land. And Burnswark was their symbol, a fortified hilltop settlement overlooking the plain, visible for miles, a reminder that even at the edge of empire, native power endured. But if Burnswark was their fortress, why would Rome unleash such overwhelming firepower here? Excavations led by Dr. John Reed and the Trimontium Trust uncovered over 400 lead sling bullets around Burnswark, many inscribed with stars, crescents or crude graffiti meant to insult the defenders. Some bullets were drilled with holes, and when fired, they whistled through the air like banshees. Ballistics tests confirmed it. The bullets screamed with an eerie hum, designed to unnerve and terrify. Nearly 1 in 5 bullets carried these holes, creating a literal storm of whistling death. Others bore psychological messages. Some carried insults meant to demoralize the warriors inside the fort. Ancient parallels are known. Sling bullets from Greece invoked gods' names, while one from Spain bore the mark Sas for Caesar himself. At Burnswark, the graffiti was clear. The Romans wanted to terrify their enemy before the first man fell. But what enemy was so dangerous that Rome used weapons of fear as well as death? Alongside the sling bullets were heavy stone ballista shot, each impact capable of shattering timber and bone, and iron arrowheads by the hundreds, evidence of volleys loosed in waves. "What you had was a hailstorm of bullets," Dr. Reed observed, covering half a kilometre of the fort's frontage. Laser surveys revealed 2 massive Roman camps, one to the north and one to the south of the hill, each capable of housing thousands of soldiers, perfectly placed to encircle the fort. Within the camps, platforms for artillery were identified, positioned to rain down fire on the settlement. This was no training drill. It was a carefully coordinated military operation designed to break the Selgovae once and for all. But could this also have been the battle that erased a Roman legion? If the 9th Legion was present, they would not have fought alone. A Roman legion on campaign was a fortress of combined arms. At its core were 5,000 heavy infantry, drilled into 10 cohorts. But alongside them marched auxiliaries, Balearic slingers, whose bullets litter Burnswark, Syrian and Cretan archers, their bows outranging any tribal weapons, cavalry to patrol the flanks and cut off escape, and engineers to operate the ballistae and build the camps. This was the full might of Rome's war machine, and yet even Rome's might was not invincible. Imagine the scene. Dawn breaks, horns blare, and the Roman camps come alive. Thousands of soldiers assemble, shields gleaming, banners rising. Then the order comes. From both camps, slingers unleash their storm. Hundreds of bullets whistle and buzz through the air, some screaming with eerie hums, others striking with bone-shattering force. Insults carved into the lead spin through the air, mocking the Selgovae. Arrows arc overhead, falling like rain. Ballista stones crash into timber palisades, splintering walls. Behind this storm, cohorts advance in testudo formation, shields locked overhead and to the front. Step by step, they climb the slope, their formation a living fortress. The Selgovae hurl spears, stones and insults of their own, warriors shouting defiance from the ramparts. The clash is deafening, the whistle of bullets, the thunder of stones, the cries of men. To those inside the fort, it must have felt like the sky itself was falling. But could this storm of steel have turned against its masters? Could the 9th have bled out on this hill, erased in fire and silence? For centuries, Burnswark was labelled a training ground. But why would Rome expend thousands of sling bullets, carve insults into lead, drill holes to make weapons scream, build 2 full camps, and position artillery with precision, all for practice? The archaeology no longer supports that view. The evidence points to combat, real, brutal, and devastating. And in the silence after AD 108, when the 9th vanishes from history, one explanation rises above all others. Burnswark was not training, it was a killing ground. The last march, the last stand, and the final disappearance of the 9th Legion. The timing is too perfect to ignore. The 9th was last recorded in York around AD 108, garrisoning the north. After this period, the records fall silent. They never appear again in inscriptions, in legion lists, or in the official rosters of Rome's armies. It is as if they were erased, and perhaps they were. To lose an entire legion, 5,000 hardened men, veterans of Caesar's wars and Boudicca's rebellion, would have been the ultimate humiliation. Rome was careful with its history. Victories were glorified, defeats were buried. Far easier to let the Ninth vanish quietly, their shameful fate left unrecorded, than to admit to the world that the Empire had been humbled in the wilds of Scotland. So was Burnswark a symbol of Rome's power, or its greatest embarrassment? The evidence at Burnswark aligns perfectly with that silence. A massive Roman assault, a desperate tribal defense, thousands of projectiles fired, and the disappearance of a legion that never returned. The Ninth did not simply fade away. They did not retire quietly. The soil of Burnswark tells us otherwise. Here, under a storm of whistling bullets and crashing stones, against the warriors of the Selgovae, Rome's Ninth Legion may have met its final hour. Today, the winds still howl across Burnswark Hill, and if you listen, you might hear it. The echo of whistling death, the thunder of artillery, and the silence that followed. The silence of a legion erased from history. Burnswark was not just a battle. It may just have been the final resting place of the Ninth Hispana.